I think we'll all agree that the aircraft manager and has probably the closest relationship with the customer in the whole industry. So if a new aircraft owner is looking for a manager, what advice would you give them?
Well, apart from coming to us, I would pretty well, get them to have a broad, look around the market and see what is available in terms of management companies. But to analyse each particular company on its past performance, and one of the most important things is on its financial stability, because we all know that these things are big ticket items and they cost a lot to operate. So the company's got to have the ability to be able to fund that per se for the first couple of months, particularly on a new aircraft coming into a fleet, until financial statements start coming in and so forth, billing, from the setup, pre-purchase inspections, the program enrollments and so forth and so on. So that's probably the most important thing, I think, is the overall quality, of course, its compliance, its certifications, is BAO or any of the other, Argus, whatever, if it's a charter aircraft.
But it's quite hard to see the financial stability of an operator.
It is, I guess, but also obviously, if it's a reasonably sized company, and they've got a track record, then it's a fairly good indicator.
Richard, what advice would you give to someone?
I think one of the things that they need to probably look at is to try and understand the difference between price and value. When looking at the fees that are charged and where's that operator able to deliver value, whether it's commercial value or flexibility, have they got a pool of pilots maybe to support that aircraft type. So I think there's a lot of sophisticated questions that they'll need to ask the operator and the competition. Obviously, if they've got a recommendation from one of their friends or partners of an operator that they've had success with, then that's always good to go with as well.
Gary, what advice are you giving a new buyer?
So when we're talking on a new buyer, I think, but the way I'll go over this is somebody that maybe hasn't had an aircraft before and is just coming into the market. Our CEO, Dave Yip, said it very well, is the word suitability. Management companies are suitable for some clients and some clients not so. The whole value versus price. Do your homework. I would suggest within 15 minutes of sitting down with an owner, both sides should have a pretty good idea, could something like this work? And you can't underestimate the value propositions that companies can put on the table and have the discussion not only with the owner, but is it the owner, is it the PA, who are the influencers? So you really have to work around all of these people to see if there's actually a good fit. As Darren had said, on the financial side, stability of the company. How long has the actual management company been around? Okay, that gives you a pretty good indication on how things are going. If they're brand new, they're a startup, or they're a small one, or it's a first time, then you have to do some homework. What is the relationship of the management company with the OEMs, with the finance companies? And if somebody's coming in and they're just buying an airplane, what you want to do is you actually want to say, I want to get in pretty early into the game, so if you haven't taken delivery of your plane, let me help you at the OEM's completion center. There's a big value proposition that the management companies give, and to a new owner of an aircraft, it is up to us to make sure that we pass on the right information to them to make sure that they make the best educated decision that they can. And sometimes, we may not be the right fit, and that's okay. And we've had instances where when you have the discussion, you say, this is going to go this way, we're not the right ones to do this for you. And I think it saves a lot of time and effort on everyone's part to be able to have those kind of difficult discussions up front. You're dating, okay, you're getting into the, you're just doing the date, but now how far do you want that relationship to go? And I know on our end, and I would think everyone over here, you want a long-term relationship, right? And so let's make sure that we can try and make it work and be open and honest right up front.
Ryan, what would you suggest?
On top of those elements that you guys just mentioned, I think there's some hard facts we also need to consider, such as the range of services KMO services, whether they have MRO service, ITP service, FBO, or any other service extensions such as customization of different kind of services, luxurious travel, whether they have it. I have been asked lots of questions regarding to the service extension as well. So there is some factors we also need to consider that as well.
I'd like to come back to that. We'll come back to that because I think that's one of the things we'll look at is whether customers want services and how they choose. Thierry, what would you recommend?
So I think in addition to everything that has been mentioned, obviously the relationship, like Gary mentioned, is very, very important. So understanding the culture, if we have the same alignment in terms of values, and the long-term goal of the owner. And usually the goals can change over time. So when, I mean, as a lot of you know, when an owner buys an aircraft, they are very excited. They want to use it. They want to show it to their friends. They want to do so many things. And then after a few months, then they see the cost, and then they say, okay, maybe I will not fly that much, maybe I need to charter, maybe I need to do X, Y, Z, I need to maybe find a partner to share some cost, and then can you help me also for fractional ownership, etc., etc. So I think understanding the long-term goals and being able to accompany the customer in their journey is very important for an aircraft management company. So we have some clients that are with us since 10 years. We have some customers who left after 3 years. Obviously, during pandemic, it was very, very difficult for a lot of owners. And we have helped some customers grow also. So we have some clients who started with 1 aircraft and then they move into 2, 3. So I would say that, like Gary mentioned, it's like a marriage, and it can be it can be short, but we want it to be long. So yeah, it's very important also for the aircraft management company to be honest and to explain that there will be hard time, and then when there will be hard time, we will be there, but we need to share the cost as well, because the aircraft management company cannot just bear all the cost and then the owner make all the money. So that's usually what they want, actually. So.
Hey, Vicky, you've got the hard job of going last on this one.
Yeah, everything I wanted to say has been said already. So, but yeah, I agree with Gary. I mean, the relationship between the owner and the management company is going to be a long-term partnership, really. So the owners have to feel comfortable working with them for the next several years, if not longer. And given that, I might suggest a new owner that they should really look into whether the operator is able to meet all the, I mean, every client has their own set of demands, requests, right? So is the operator flexible enough to meet those requests? I mean, do they have their own set of crew? Do they want to do charter? In that case, does the operator have the right AOC to accommodate the ownership structure? Things like that. Do they prefer old school communications, formal ways of communicating by emails, or do they rather want to use a digital platform, financial openness, things like that? So yeah, flexibility might be one of the keys that we suggest to new owners.
How do you work out if they're a cultural fit for you guys?
Yeah, that's an important thing. I think the first several meetings are really important to figure out what the mutual expectations are, really. Well, if there's a new owner, it's really hard to decline them for an operator, I think, unless there are really some red flags. And as I said, yeah, what do they expect financially? What's the budget? How much do they want to fly? In what way do they want to fly? Do they really want to do minimum rest, long flights with 2 pilots only? We've had that many times, and I'm sure all the operators here have crazy stories about what their owners demanded. But so I guess if they are starting to make really unrealistic requests, and if they're not willing to pay us for our service, then that's a no-go.
Although, how many of your clients pay you on time every month?
Yes.
Ryan, how do you decide that the client's going to fit with Hong Kong Jet?
I think one of the factors that we also consider is when we have a beginning discussions with the clients, we will also assess the client, where did they fly usually, what are their flying patterns, and through the conversation we understand what kind of profile the client is potentially, and what kind of job nature, industry nature of the client is. And as an operator, what we're looking at is the cost sensitivities, whether those clients are very cost conscious, to give us more freedom to different kind of things, because at the end of the day, there's no free meal. You get what you pay, and this is a service that we're giving with a certain cost, and I think that is something that we also definitely consider as well.
Is it a red flag if they've left another operator? Because I think, historically we saw in mainland China there was a lot of moving around of owners would, go for a few months with one or a year with another. Gary's nodding along. Is that a red flag if you know they've left another good operator?
So it's the old buyer beware, right? And so the other nice thing about this is you can take a look at a list of 30 operators, and and this isn't putting something on the top or the bottom, but it's more going on a parallel line saying, these manage this way, these manage this way, these manage this way. And if somebody is coming from a way that is managed that is significantly different than the way that you manage, then I would suggest maybe you want to take a step back and say, this may not just fit, and that's quite all right. Don't waste their time, don't waste your time, and because time is definitely money. When you say payment terms are net 30, we mean days, not months, right? Some people mean something else. So find that out right off the bat. And so if you have all these warning flags or potential warning flags, then I also look at the management company. Why are you doing this? Why are you putting yourself through this? It's it's the old 80-20 rule, right? These two customers are going to take up all the time on this, and is that really worthwhile? Because that's pulling you away from all the other clients that you really want to do something, and it is a value proposition. And are you the client that you're looking at? Do they want to fly around, and are they are they a Holiday Inn type? Are they a Marriott points kind of a collector over here, where I want to have it the same everywhere I go, or do I want to stay at the Peninsula and I want that kind of a service? And so you just need to understand, where do you fit into the spectrum, and work it that way. And that I think the management companies sometimes create some of our own problems because we're jumping into something right off the bat, and why are we doing that? So just take a step back, do the right thing for yourself, and do the right thing for the client.
Thierry, how long does it take if a customer comes to you? How much time do you think you spend, writing the proposal, educating them?
So it depends if they come from another operator already. But basically, if we have a new client, they usually have heard of us, or they have been referred by some friends from the industry. And so it can vary depending on the profile of the customer. Obviously, in our early days, so we are now 12 years old, and we started from scratch. So before, like Gary mentioned, we would get anything that will come, right? We will get all the deals, and we try to win them. Indeed, nowadays we take it can take 6 months before we accept a customer, and then we try to understand if there's a cultural fit. We have some customers who have left us. We have also let go some clients actually recently due to payment terms, breach of payments and stuff like that. So we are getting more mature, and I think it's a cycle. We started with, for example, with helicopters. I think not many operators started with helicopters. So, and then a lot of our clients, they push us to grow, and they said, "Wow, your name is PhilJets, and you have no jets. So why don't you go into the jet business as well?" So, and then we learned, and we were able to do so 6 years ago. And today, with about 15 aircraft in the fleet, both helicopters and jet, we want to continue to grow, but strategically, with also synergies. Before we had like so many type of aircraft. Now we want to have a communality of fleet. We want to have the same type, like more Textrons, citations and more bombardiers, for example, because simply it's very hard to maintain 10 different types from different OEMs. So then now this narrows also the type of clients we will get.
Richard, do you care about commonality of fleet?
Oh, certainly, I think I mentioned in the first answer about pilot pools and things like this. Obviously, if you've got those resources in-house, you can find some efficiencies and cost savings are very much appreciated by our clients, and we get that operational flexibility. So it makes a lot of sense if you can, but really have that much influence over what people want to buy and for what reasons. We can advise, but often they'll be buying an aircraft for reasons unbeknown to us.
Darren, you rely a lot on referrals, don't you? Your customers tend to...
Yes, yeah, indeed. It's our business has always been very referral based. So yeah, one customer to another customer. I mean, once in each particular different country that we operate, generally once we get one or two clients and we get within that circle of ultra high net worths, then yeah, the referrals come through.
And do you have a standard? If someone says, I've got a global, will you manage it? Will they want a full... Does it vary what information they want, or do you always do like the same docket, or do they want formal?
No, we always, yeah. Look, each customer has their own needs, their own expectations. So, it's one of the things. I'm sitting in an office and late at night writing a proposal, and my wife calls and says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm writing a proposal." She said, "Surely you've got templates," and yes, we do, but each client has different requirements, and so really you're starting from scratch with each one. We try and keep them standard. Look, we recommend you take 3 pilots per aircraft or something along those lines, but due to budgets, so forth, some say 2, and then obviously, as we've talked about, all the chaps have been talking about commonality. If we've got commonality in the fleet, as Richard said, you've got the pool there. You can help to reduce the cost to that particular owner. And others are not so sensitive. They want 3. They want maybe 4 pilots sometimes. So yeah, they're all very different.
So everyone wants commonality. Can you raise your hand if you've got one aircraft of a certain type in your fleet?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, so everyone, you just accept that you're not going to get commonality.
Yeah, you try, but yeah, as Richard said, it's up to the owner what he wants to buy, right? You can try and advise, but they don't often listen.
Okay, so one of the things that you've all got is you've all got different offerings, and how important is it for a client? If you compare you've got aircraft management companies who just manage, you've got aircraft management companies who have an FBO, who have maintenance, who have charter. Do clients care?
No, not particularly, I don't think. Obviously it's nice to have a one-stop shop for a client, but also that can also be a major disadvantage, because clearly if a management company has an FBO, it has a maintenance facility, then clearly the management company is going to try and keep that in-house. Is that good for the client? Not necessarily. For us, outsourcing things like maintenance and having the choice and being able to go to several different MROs for a quotation, it makes a big difference for the client versus, hey, yeah, it's coming into my MRO and this is what it's going to cost.
Hibiki, do you think it makes a difference?
It certainly attracts customers. I mean, it's a very good first step. I think it gives an operator much more visibility to the market if you have more than one service, if you do charters, MROs, FBOs. So that's good in a sense. And yeah, for the operator, but if you just expand your business into various services, it does increase your exposure to more risks in terms of a business. And yeah, as Darren said, it might not always be the best option to do things in-house for the client, and there's that dilemma, of course. But in general, I think for an operator, it's much more convenient and more they would feel more comfortable if they have more services to offer.
Gary?
So a couple of things on that, and maybe some alternate views on occasion. I guess one of the things you have to look at is every touch point you have with the client is an opportunity to succeed or fail, right? So the more services you provide, I think there's a lot of pluses on that if you can deliver what you're supposed to deliver to what the expectations are. I would suggest having the ability to manage an aircraft, to maintain an aircraft, I think is a good thing. I think if you have your camo services as well, the job of camo, and again, I would suggest depending on maybe which management company you look at, they need to be independent. So I will tell you, and I can say this on the Metrojet side with hand on heart, our camo will take a look, you'll get the quotes, and you'll see what is best for the client on this, okay? So if an aircraft is sitting and it's based in Hong Kong and it's a light inspection, would I suggest maybe it would be a good idea to take a look at what the cost is to do it in Hong Kong versus flying it to Savannah, right? So again, you have to take a look at the situations as they're warranted, and it's very important that you actually have somebody taking a backstep view on this. Some of the larger management companies that have an FBO service, that provides. You take a look at some of the larger management companies, maybe there's some volume discounts that they can do, so it's one of two things. Do they put it in their pocket or do they share it? So there is a lot of value in terms of being able to provide, I can provide you a hangar, I can provide you this or that, but again, if you don't do it right, there's just more touch points to fail. So you have to make sure that you're providing absolutely the right level of service. And I even think some of the finance companies will take a look and say, I like the fact that you can fly, that you can do this, you can maintain it, you have a hangar. I think there's some value in that. But again, it all depends on the value proposition for the client and what are they willing to pay for.
Richard?
Well, commercially for the business, as you know, we don't have maintenance anymore, famously. But having FBOs and in particular charter makes us a stronger organisation. We have additional revenue streams, so there's a natural hedge there to that. And our clients certainly appreciate having access either to charter aircraft for additional lift within our fleet or have low utilisation on the aircraft. I'm talking more in Australia, and we'll operate the aircraft under our air operator certificate in Australia or San Marino if it's in this part of the world. So we have had success where we've had San Marino aircraft privately operated and they want to pivot to the charter, which is, I think probably most of you are familiar, is quite a sort of seamless transition. And yeah, that's certainly appreciated. But yeah, we're very pleased to have our FBOs. We would very much, I know Patrick would very much like to have some more, particularly in this region, so we're always looking at opportunities.
At the moment, you just seem to focus on nice holiday destinations. Have you thought about doing a city?
Yeah, I can see. I think some people are doing very well out of that, but I don't get involved.
Did you lose any customers? Did any customers, when you sold the maintenance, were any customers like, oh, I liked having the one stop?
No, it was never an issue from us to lose any customers over not having the maintenance. I think that some of them would have understood. I think the main consequence of that, as probably a lot of you know, was the branding issue and the belief that we were also belonged to Dassault Aviation, which of course we're fully 100% owned by Lux Aviation. So we've just added a little bit of that brand confusion by keeping our FBOs branded as ExecuJet. So yeah, go ask the marketing department.
Yeah, I would like to echo what Gary and Richard just mentioned. So it's actually it's all about client, what decision they would like to make. Of course, we do have FBO, we have MRO service, but they're not bound to use us. We can actually give our option to them, but at the same time, if they do not prefer to use us, we can actually give them options, third-party options as well. And essentially, it's actually about giving the best options to the client as well.
Thierry?
Yeah, so I agree with colleagues, and I think we provide aircraft management, charter on one end, and then we also do maintenance services on the other. But it doesn't prevent us to work with Metrojet for maintenance as well. We send our customers to Metrojet, for example. There's absolutely no issue. I think so I think the key is really to provide the best service that we can to the customers. And for example, one of the services we do provide is that we manage both their jets and their helicopters. So we have customers who have both, and It's more headache, obviously, on the helicopter side in terms of maintenance, because less programs are available and so on. But yeah, we extend such kind of services for the clients.
Thierry, what do you think about being a global operator versus a local operator? And I can guess which way you and Gary are going to go on this one.
I think the global operator has extensive reach. They have economies of scales. They have obviously more experience and an international standard. So this is obviously very much appreciated. So that's great. And then the boutique operator is more flexible, can be faster, understand more the local specificities, local market regulations, authorities, can get things fixed or solved, actually, maybe faster sometimes. Such things like importation of parts, customs, clearances, etc. Obviously, local market, local talents as well. So, but in general, we collaborate with everyone. So I think there's more and more collaboration, and I think as we go, there will be more collaboration in the region, especially in Asia.
Okay.
Maybe to also add on to that is, if I'm an owner, I bought a plane and I bought a CJ4, I'm in Indonesia, or I bought a Honda Jet and I'm sitting in the Philippines, and all I'm really going to be doing is I want to go from resort to resort. I'm just going to fly my family around. Really, I think a local operator is really the answer that you want to do there, as long as they hit the right, safety standard, international standard, all these things. But if that's all you're going to be flying in, then that's really, and when I say that's all you need, it actually is a better fit. The glove fits better. If we have somebody that we've managed, and all of a sudden they say, you know what, we're going to be based out in the UK, and that really isn't our bandwidth, and I will tell you, we have in the past. We've picked up the phone and we've talked to a few of our friends on some other aircraft management companies and say there may be an opportunity for you here, because eventually there could be a quid pro quo for something for doing on that. So again, do the right thing by the client, and long-term, that'll work out for you. And if that means sharing things with people over here or people that aren't over here, long-term, that works for all of us, because then the clients are happy, the OEMs are happy because we're working much better together, so we're helping them all grow their pie. And if their pie grows and we just have X% of that pie, then all of us are doing better, right?
Ryan, what do you think about the argument local versus global operators? And I guess local versus regional versus global operators.
To me, again, comes down to the patterns of the customers. Where do they fly to? The pros of having a local operators, regional operators, they are actually more familiar with the terrain. They're better relationship with the airport authority, and that actually helps a lot. Versus the client, if they have actually lots of international flying patterns, then actually better off they go for international operator as well.
Darren?
Yeah, I for sure. In a lot of these countries, having a local operator or a locally based operator, at least, is very advantageous. As Thierry said, you have that relationship with the authorities, and you know your way through the system, so to speak. So I think it's very important that wherever you have an office and an operation is, you really have to have local presence on the ground. You can manage an airplane from anywhere, for sure, but to manage it efficiently, you need to have people on that location to look after these day-to-day issues that we all face.
Sorry, I just want to add one more thing on that. Is again the boutique versus for a large international. One of the things we also got to remember on this thing is on a boutique organization, you're probably more able to be the person that sits with the phone that lies beside the bed 24/7, and when that phone rings, it's not going to be a good call at 2 in the morning, but the client. It's very nice for the client to know that they can talk to the top person on the phone and they're actually going to pick up that phone, versus I got to phone somebody that's 10,000 miles away, and what chances are I'll get through to their assistant. right? So there is some value when you take a look at that, and again, it all depends on what the client really wants for us to be able to help them.
Hands up if you've been woken at 2 a.m. in the last month. Like,
Not in the last month, but I've been woken up probably a dozen times in a year.
last couple of days. Like, have you any thoughts on?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if there's, if you're a boutique operator and your client has a problem, he can just walk in, he can meet the CEOs, and all the executives, so they have access to all the top management. So I think it's fairly easy and things can be solved really quick. I think for Phoenix Jet, I think we're more of a maybe hybrid operator. We have a global element, but also we are not as large as other very well-known operators. So we, I think we share both the boutique elements while also serving large jets globally, doing charters and things like that. So, by doing that, we also serve the niche market. I mean, for new operators, for new clients, if they come to us, maybe they do question if we are actually, well, better or not compared to the large ones, well-known ones. We always trying to find the niche market where we can serve the clients. Yeah.
Richard, you're going to argue that local operators are better?
Well, I think what we can all agree on, there's no one size fits all. I mean, we're a global company and we have a lot of local presence. So I agree with Darren, you've got to have boots on the ground. That's absolutely important. So we make sure we have key account managers, client relationship managers in all the locations where we have aircraft based. So that's obviously Hong Kong and Malaysia. And here in Singapore, we made a decision to have our mission control, our dispatch team, our camo staff, all based just down the road here in Raffles Place. So that was a strategic decision we took many years ago to make sure that everything wasn't being run out of Europe at arm's length. That gave us the local language skills. It gave us the understanding of all the stakeholders here, and brought in efficiencies. But I can understand as well. Sometimes we might be perceived to be a bit clunky because we might have certain protocols that we need to respect, and those sort of larger organisations, you may occasionally come across those types of things. I know it's aircraft management is not a perfect world by any stretch of imagination, but yeah, certainly having all that investment locally and people where our customers are and clients are, to meet them little and often. Like Gary talked about touch points. So yeah, that's very important for us to maintain those client relationships.
Okay, do we have any questions in the room? If we could put Slido up, we've got loads on Slido. Do we have any questions or comments from anyone old school? Right. How can a global, I think you've sort of answered that. How can a global company localize? So well done on that. That was a top answer there. You hadn't even seen the question. Here's a nice easy one. Are there too many management companies given the size of the Asian fleet?
I think there are. I think this is time of consolidation in somehow. But when I asked Patrick Hansen about that, he said it's very difficult to get anyone to give capital to go out and buy other companies. The value proposition just isn't there because the way aircraft management contracts are. They can be fairly flaky, so there's not an awful lot to back up the investment. So, but clearly, when you look at the prices we're able to charge for our services, well, ours haven't moved for 10 years. So that's the truth of the matter. Yeah.
So
but our costs have, of course. Yeah.
But I think an important point to note on that is one size doesn't fit all, and there are numerous smaller management companies. There's the large one. So you take a look at a large one. Looking at a large one, are you going to look at an acquisition? What are you going to do? What will the culture fit be? So if you try to take a very large international and say, I'm going to pick up 7 or 8 small operators, well, you're probably going to pick up 7 or 8 different views on things, and it may not work out all that well when you look at it that way. So you really have to put your mindset. And then what are you buying when you buy a management company? If it isn't a management company that has a bunch of assets, what are you doing? You're buying a 2-month contract that they can walk away. So are you going to give a multiplier of 15 on a 2-month contract where they can all leave in a couple of things? Well, I tell you what, I'm sure the finance guys over here will say, don't do it. Right?
Yeah, there are too many, of course. You know, this is a big pie in Asia Pacific, but you know, there's a lot of small startups coming out of the woodwork, and look, that's a natural thing. It's been happening forever, where you know, a couple of guys will work with a company and then they break away and you know, they take a client with them or more than one client and, you know, think they can go and do it. But again, it comes back to what, you know, I said at the very beginning. You know, they need to have the maturity, the financial stability to be able to effectively and properly manage and operate these aeroplanes.
We've got 100% of the room. I think that is one person, to be fair, at the moment. I know it's two people, I can see. Okay, Devil's Advocate is asking, do you see a move away from management companies to self-management as the region and aircraft ownership matures? Does anyone see a move away from aircraft management to self-management?
I personally see there's actually more clients. They're going back to the bigger scale management company. So I have been in the industry more than 10 years already. At the beginning, I see lots of people. They are opening a small little company trying to manage one or two of their own aircraft. And then during these COVID, different kind of political reasons, thing has really going down south from there. And whatever left behind is like a Hunger Game. The strongest stays. And what I see right now is those smaller players, they have been eliminated, and they whoever is staying, they're actually a bigger one who have more financial stability, who have a better capability on staying around on the ground.
We're getting a lot of questions from someone going, what's the minimum service a manager can provide to be considered an aircraft manager? Is it just camo? Is one question. Hibiki?
Well, I guess, yeah, if you have one guy that can do everything, all the basic stuff, camo and all the services, I mean, at least that you can fly your plane as you wish, then that's a hard question. So I guess it's fairly easy. If you have, if you're there and if you know one right person, one right owner that you can serve, then you might declare yourself as a management company already. Is that enough for the client? Often not, unless they really have a really close relationship. Well, in a sense, I understand a rather very small operator can have a maybe even family-like atmosphere, if you will, so that can be really comfortable. But I think as soon as you wish to travel a bit further, get better service, get stability, more confidence in your operator, that's where you need more people, more experience, and yeah, more capabilities.
Okay. A successful ownership experience is built on the back of a successful aircraft manager. This is written by an aircraft management company. How can OEMs collaborate to ensure this mutual success? Anyone?
Yeah, I can jump in there. I think if they trust us to be discreet with the information that they're providing us, and if we can get into these relationships earlier on, I think we can really provide that hand-holding experience that a lot of new aircraft owners need. An awful lot of hand-holding. There's a lot of questions that come. There's a lot of data and information we can provide as operators that's not as generic perhaps as the OEM information can provide. So we can certainly customize things like budgets, and I think that's really important for new owners to get a super detailed budget based on what their actual activity will be, and we can, you know, we have that operational knowledge and experience, and we have that data. So I think if they really trust us to look after their client very well, then that could really be a success for them. I think any issues that come up during the early entry into service and sustainment of that operation, if you've got if you've got an experienced operator, they can certainly make those things go a lot smoother than otherwise. You know, sort of pistols at 10 yards sort of thing. and just work together on the communication. So yeah, I'm sure we've got a real important role to play there.
Aircraft management companies, MROs, we're unpaid salesmen for the OEMs, to be very frank with you. You know, if we can manage the clients well, we can manage their expectations, we can keep them in the air. I think it's very important to have a good relationship with the OEMs. The OEMs will take a look at the management companies, says, how long have you been around? What are the standards that you do? How do you fly? These are all very good things to help them, and I would suggest everyone sitting up here, and there's probably some management companies down there. Ideally, what we want to be in a position is for an OEM to say, you're coming into the region, you're new, you know, you may want to talk to A, B, C, and D, and that's all we really want, all of us. Just and let us compete on our own merits. But we'd like to get we'd like to get it at least invited to the dance to be able to do this. And I think the OEMs will invite those to the dance that they think will actually help them. And as long as everyone realizes we're here to help, it's a good thing.
Here's a more negative question of this version of the same question. What challenges do management companies face with OEMs?
Getting on the dance card sometimes, maybe? I don't know.
Ryan, you moved. You were going to answer, and then you stopped.
I'm going to pass for this question.
I saw you, the microphone, okay.
He wants to stay on the list.
He wants to stay at the dance. Okay. Can all operators manage a bizliner? Who's got a bizliner on the program, on the panel? I know you've got. Anyone can manage one?
Can all operators? Well, no, probably not. Look, bizliner is a very, very simple aeroplane in terms of operating. It's built around an airliner that's designed to fly 20 hours a day. Having it in a private configuration or even in a charter role, the airplanes themselves, yeah, super reliable and do the job very, very well. But it does take a lot. There's a lot of planning that goes into operating these airplanes. Again, super expensive, very expensive to operate, and you again need to.
I've watched the presentations. It's not.
Well, say again?
I've watched so many presentations where it's cheaper.
Well, look, yeah, on paper it is. Absolutely. I mean, you know, a bizliner, yeah, if you look at the numbers, it compares very, very well to something like a G650 or a Global 6500 in terms of operating cost per hour. But there's so many other things to it, and you know, obviously the reach of the aircraft, the size of the airplane, the logistics of which airports you can operate it into, where you can park it, particularly in Europe and so forth. But yeah, basically, yeah, I think look, all operators could have a crack for sure, but I think it does take a lot of planning and a lot of knowledge and know-how to operate these things.
Here's a specific question. Management companies often allow the owner to employ the flight crew directly. How much of this is a problem for management companies?
Well, can I jump in there? It's only a problem, I think, when the crew aren't able to do that balancing act, and I think they are conflicted anyway. But if they understand the obligations they have as the operator of the aircraft, flying the aircraft, the SOPs, and they understand that relationship with the owner, then it can be very successful. So it's very much about the management company reaching out to them and making them feel welcome within the organisation, and about them seeing the value of a management company and not just be feeling like it's all a bit of a burden and that type of thing. So if they understand the role and can do that balancing act, but I think they can be put in quite a conflicting position. But we have both scenarios where we employ the crew or the owner employs the crew, and you know, in the most part it works well. When it works well, it's fine. When it doesn't, yeah, that's a lot of management time.
Thierry, you're nodding.
I think this brings us back to the earlier question about I mean, what's the difference between an international company and a boutique one? And in the case of a boutique one, when this case is when we are in this scenario, a lot of time, especially in Asia, the crew very, very much respect the owner. And the owner usually are tycoons, I mean super big tycoons, so they respect them more than the management company and more than the management of the management company. And this can create some issues that you mentioned. So they will work for the company, they will take basically the best of both sides, but when they need a raise and things like that, you know, then they will go and ask the owner. And there's also a lot of, I mean, tippings and things like this. So obviously, the allegiance goes more to the customer, and this is a challenge for the company to manage and to handle. So again, it comes back to how you align with everyone in the organization and the customer to make sure that this kind of challenges are avoided, because otherwise it's a lot of pinpointing, especially when something goes wrong. It's always the management company's fault, and the owner is always right. So you know, that's the kind of things we have to balance.
I think an important point on that, though, and I'm a believer of the flight crew belonging to the management company.
I'd guess that, to be honest.
Yeah, but for me, there's a lot of good reasons in my mind to do that. We've had people come up to us and say, you know, I want you to hire my 2 pilots, and they've had 100 hours on type, you know, maybe 200 hours total flying. I don't want to manage that, because at the end of the day, and I would look at everyone sitting here, everyone sitting there, to me it's a Metrojet. If something becomes a lawn dart, it's Metrojet became a lawn dart, okay? People have died because of that, so we push back. At the end of the day, if clients want to push certain spectrums and say, you're going to fly this, I think that all management companies, good management companies, will sit back and say to all of their flight crew, you can walk away, you can say no at any time, and we'll be the ones. And I know in our company, they'll know that whether or not it's myself, Dave, Stuart will stand up in front of them and say, we're not going to do this, and I'll lose a client over that I have no problem doing it on that, because that's the important thing. I also take a look, quite often the crew believe they're in a much tighter relationship with the owners than they really are, right? And so I would ask them, how many times have you been dating their son or their daughter, and are you invited there for all these different holidays? I don't think that happens too much. So guess what? When you have a hard landing and some wine gets spilled somewhere on the thing, and the owner picks up the phone and say, I know they've been with me for 12 years, but I want them gone tomorrow. You want to have a management company that will then take a look and say, okay, I understand that. We're going to go ahead and try and find you another job. So I'm personally a firm advocate that I think as a management company that there should be our employees, and we should be there to help and protect them and keep them at the standard that they need to be at.
Right?
Yes, that is a very delicate subject. But we actually do hire flight crew who has a good experience, who has a good relationship with the client directly, because essentially they are the one who interact with the head passengers all the time. But at the end of the day, it's about communications and letting the pilot knows we're here to support them, make sure that they're on our side as well, to protect the interests of the company together with the client as well. So it's about communication and management.
Okay, I've just managed to spill water over my computer, so Slido's stopping working. How do you stop a race to the bottom for management fees? Apart from colluding now on this panel in front of everyone, but...
So a point on that is, we like to say our management fee is X dollar. I think all of us would like to say, here's the value, and we'll do all the services for you. I think with the maturity of the market, with new operators coming in, it forces you all to look at yourself and how do I do things better, whether or not it's technology, whether or not it's the services I'm providing, whether or not it's a markup I'm providing, whether or not it's a rebate I'm getting. I think the clients are doing their due diligence and saying, what are we going to do? So I think one of the steps that we have to do on that is you look more at a menu drop down now. What are the services that you want? What can I go ahead and charge you to do? You also got to take a look at, in our instance, in many instances over here, you've had a client for 15 years, okay? And all of a sudden, because I want to get this business, how do I actually look at them in the morning and say, if they find out that I'm charging my brand new client who I don't even know is probably going to pay me net 30 months versus 30 days, I'm giving them a better deal? I won't do that. It doesn't make sense. So it's really up to everyone here. Everyone has their own different financial situation on how they're going to stay and what they need to do. But I think we find that we stay pretty firm on that there's a value for that you have to do. And you know what, we all need to make money. At the end of the day, the people that are flying the planes have made money. They want us to make money because eventually somebody may cut some corner, and it may be a corner that you don't want to cut, and all of a sudden something happens to an aircraft, right? So I think it's up to all of us to maintain what we do properly.
Yes, to echo what Gary has mentioned, there have been asked a lot about these questions. You have to get discount to the management fee. You have to do more inclusions. Essentially, we're here to protect the industry as well. You know, we can only drop so low on the management price, but essentially we still need to provide the service as well. So it's really up to our job to educate the client, continues to tell them that there's a fee we're charging, what the reason behind, be transparent to them, stay very communicative to the client as well. This is a day-to-day job. We need to stay communicative with them to safeguard our industry service.
If I may just expand that slightly, that question out to how do we stop a race to the bottom for standards as well as management fees? And I think we all have to stand for something, and that's flight and duty limitations and crew fatigue and their training. You know, we can't afford to be cost cutting and diluting any of those things, and you know, that's what we stand for, and you know, unashamedly, that's we don't want to race to the bottom there, and I think there will be the point of difference for the longevity of startup operators as well. You know, can they really maintain the course over the long run?
Maybe.
Yeah, I guess if the management fees, let's say less than 5% of the whole operations fees, the annual fees, then that's then we should be careful. I think we shouldn't sell our services too cheaply. At the end of the day, we do operate a kind of complex business in in a complicated you know, an environment, across many countries, 24/7, things like that. So I think that's the level that we should keep it at least.
Darren, what do you want to say?
Yeah, I think, look, I think all of us are much of a muchness. We all charge fairly well around the same range. It's a matter of educating the clients as to what services you are providing for them, and not only that they need to understand. You know, we always encourage our clients to come and visit us in the office so they can actually see that it's not just a couple of pilots and a flight attendant and perhaps an engineer out dispatching the aeroplane. There's a whole office full of people, which is overhead. And someone has to pay for that. So the only way is that we've got to maintain our standards. And if a client doesn't want to pay us, you know, what we think we're worth for our service, then, you know, maybe he needs to go to these small guys.
Okay, that one made a lot of sense. So let's do a quick yes, no. We'll start with Richard and come down. Richard, are management fees going to go up in the next 12 months? Yes or no?
No.
Thierry?
I think yes.
Gary?
I'm going to say yes.
No.
I would like to think yes, but I'm going to say no.
Okay, let's go through them really quick. Let's stick with the yes, no's or short answers. This time we'll start with you, Darren. Is there a difference in managing an aircraft for a North Asian owner versus a Southeast Asian owner?
Yes.
Yes.
Every owner is different everywhere.
Yes.
Yes.
This is so efficient. We're getting through these. Do owners value aircraft managers who embrace corporate social responsibility? Richard?
The answer's not so much in this region. You know how much Lux Aviation, how much work they're doing, and I think in Europe there's definitely more appreciation of that. But you know, really, we don't get too much. So that's a long no.
Thierry?
Yeah, no.
No.
I do see it for corporate owners, but yeah, in general, no.
Again, it depends on the region. Perhaps more so in Australia, New Zealand, Europe, of course, but in this part of the world, no.
Okay, sticking with that, Darren, what role does SAF play for your owners?
0.
No.
Yeah, same, no.
Yeah, disappointingly, not.
I hope the people who were on the SAF panel yesterday are not in the room. Is fuel pricing a big factor for your clients, Richard?
Oh, yes. I mean, as we all know, there's an enormous part of the OPEX a year is fuel. So we spend a lot of time getting relationships with, was it yes and no this, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, fuel price doesn't matter, but at the same time, if they have to fly, they will not actually not flying because the fuel price is more expensive than the other places. Yes.
Yes.
Get this, all right, we should have done the whole panel like this. Here's one you're not going to want to answer. Do you pay finder's fees for management contracts, Darren?
No.
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 Oh, that was a delay. Read into that what you want. Gary?
You know, you have to be adaptable in the world today, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so I agree with Gary. So if anyone wants to refer some clients, yes, sure.
We would within certain protocols. It's about the transparency. The owner would have to know that there is a fee involved and an agent involved. So in some circumstances, yes, we would. But yeah.
Okay, isn't one your preferred? Is there a minimum time required for a client to stay with the same management company stated in the agreement? Richard?
Case-by-case basis, some of ours do and some of those have not. I mean, I like to say to an owner that, if this isn't working, it's too difficult on both sides. I don't see any point in us sort of carrying on. So, I'd much rather they stay with us because they're getting great service than just because they're forced to. I think that's a very good situation. So, yes and no.
It doesn't seem to be working so well down that end of the table. Theo?
Yes, definitely. So agree, it's an investment in time and especially in educating the company to align with the client's needs. So yes, definitely, we have to have a minimum time.
Short answer, yes.
Yes, and within that minimum time, we try to just serve them as well as we can so that they never go away.
Definitely yes, but at the same time, there's another way to actually keep the client by deliver a great service. If the service is good, they don't need to think about the contractual relationship with the management company.
Yeah, agreed. Yes, but also, as Richard said, there's got to be, a mutual way that, if a client isn't happy or you're not happy with a client, we've got to be able to either of us exit from that. So, and then again, it comes down to if it's a financed asset, for example, a finance company doesn't want to do all this paperwork and then, have a guy change a manager in 6 months. He'd rather see a longer term contract in place.
Do you share information about bad owners regarding red flags amongst yourselves in the bar?
Yes.
We don't. I think it's the same for everyone. Right, final question. I think this is someone with a short as you can. What's the biggest advantage of the manager? Why should someone choose your company? This is your blatant time to pitch. Who wants to go first? Gary.
Can I go first?
Yeah.
Would that be okay? Would you mind? Yeah, okay. We've been the longest serving operator in the region. We have, and I know we always talk about everyone's got to be safe, but I definitely know how we fly. I definitely know the ethos of our company, and we're beyond reproach, and we do business this way. I think that'll say enough on that. Yeah.
Nothing beats experience. We've got business units that are 60 years old today, so this year, so we've been around a long time. I expect we're going to be around for a long time to come as well. So, yes, we're very experienced.
Ryan?
I want to say because I'm here, but
I think that's a good answer.
yeah, because we have MR service, we got FBO, we got ITP service. On top of it, we are focusing on service extension as well. What does that mean is we create tailor-made solutions.
Yeah, so we are the premium brand out here, which probably provides you the most flexibility in services. So we are a Japanese-American-owned operator, which makes our service very good with a Japanese touch. So that's really appreciated in this region for sure. and just the size of our company, I think we can just adjust to all possible requests that the clients come up with.
Thierry?
Basically, we are local. We operate locally. We have the local flexibility and knowledge, but with the international mindset and the international and growing towards the international standard. So for the customers who stay with us, or they are growing, and we usually grow with our customers. So, and actually, it's thanks to our customers that we have been growing over the years. So this is the partnership we look for with clients.
Dan?
I think for us, you know, the local presence in all these regions, as I said, we've got boots on the ground everywhere. Safety record, stability, fleet size, so, you know, quantity of scale in purchasing power, so forth and so on.
Okay, brilliant. Just to let you know, there's business card draws for models at the Titan stand, Bombardier at the back. And thanks so much to this panel. Coffee, sponsored by Boeing Business Jets, for everyone apart from Darren, is outside. And thanks so much to our panel. Thank you.
Thank you. And just, sorry, Alistair, there was a question that was on the board that was directed at myself. I have no problems if anyone wants to have a discussion with me off to the side or anything. But in short, it was the equivalent of spending a lot of money on a Harvard business education into China, as on the AOC question. So Paul and myself, it was a wonderful experience. But if somebody wants to have some details, no issue at all having that discussion with anyone that would like to. Okay.